Hey guys, it's Jeff, local constructor. Today we're here with Nick Gullette. He is a local home builder here in central Mississippi. We're going to talk through some I guess not really issues, but misconceptions that people have going through with custom home building. So Nick, I'm going to kind of turn the floor over to you, and appreciate you giving us the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, there's a lot of different misconceptions with home building, anywhere from affordability through the process through I just can't handle this. So I just kind of wanted to go through and debunk a few of those through the process. So the first thing I hear a lot when we get calls from people looking at lots or looking at custom building is, I just can't afford it. I can't come up with 20 or 30% down to custom build. And that's a big misconception. So one of the key things about building a home versus buying a home, you're buying a house at the retail value. In many cases, when you build a house, your appraisal is more than your cost to build. So you're actually gaining some equity, and that equity counts in your refinance of that house. When you go from your construction loan to a permanent mortgage, that equity counts as down payment money, essentially, because you're doing a refinance.
Does location or area, does that any of that have any impact with that? So if I'm going to do this, say, at the reservoir versus I'm going to do this in Madison versus I'm going to do this 10 miles off in the woods somewhere, does that have an impact?
Yeah, so a couple different things with cost to build or your spread, let's call it, between your appraisal and what it costs is going to be your comps, the area you're building in. So if you go buy the last lot in a neighborhood that a home hadn't been built in 20 years, the appraiser's typically going to cost your as finished or appraise your as finished value with the like sales in the area. So they're not going to be selling as high as new construction. So that might make your spread tighter because you're comparing with 20-year-old homes versus new homes. And typically they'll try to find a new house in the area to mix in there, but they're going to put some from the neighborhood you're building in. So that definitely has a big impact. Another thing is there's a little misconception with people that say, hey, I want to go buy a $150,000 lot. And I want to buy it with my construction loan, and I want to build the house and not put anything down either. So a $150,000 lot is perfectly normal if you're building a 5,000 square foot house or a 4,000 square foot house. But if you're going to pay $150,000 for a lot, you're not going to be able to go in and build a 2,000 square foot house and have those appraisal numbers work out for you to have any equity in that. Not saying you can't do it. People do it all the time, but they're probably bringing cash to the table. But in many cases, if people are buying a let's call it a standard lot and building a house like the houses around it in a new area, typically you're not going to be looking at 20% down on that. You're going to be looking at a lot less. And a lot of times maybe you can put 10 or 12% down or even less than that. And then your spread and your cost to your appraised value is enough where you might go into that house potentially with 80%, 20% equity, 80% finance, and not have a PMI payment on a brand new home. So a lot of my customers do end up in that position to where they have that 20% value spread.
With the financials with it, is there a balance? Because with me in designing the homes, one of the things I have to try to fight to help people with is this appraised value is coming from their heated and cooled square footage. When they come to me saying, I need to build a house within X dollars, which I have to look at heated and cooled, and then how does that translate to you in looking at under roof, and where is there a balance?
Well, and that's one of the misconceptions I have on my sheet. I wanted to talk about that I get a lot too is, well, my friend's house was X dollars per foot, so my cost estimate should be the same. So every house is different, and a lot of it has to do with finishes, but a lot of it has exactly to do with what you're talking about, the ratio of heated square footage, that everything is cost on. Most of your labor is on heated square footage, but then a lot of your material and your framing labor, several different steps, are on your total slab square footage or your under roof square footage. So for instance, if you have a house that is 2,000 square feet heated and then 2,000 square feet of porches and garages and all of that, that house is going to cost a whole lot more per foot than a 2,500 square foot heated house with only 1,000 square foot under roof, because you're having to capture that non-heated square footage in that cost per foot of the heated space. So a good ratio, that's not something we've really gone to, because as a custom builder, People are going to build what they want to build. So as far as the design, we can build whatever that you guys put on paper or they design or bring to us. But I tell everybody up front that the more unheated or unfinished area that you have, the more your price per foot on your heated is going to be based, because there, even with the appraisals, with your cost, with everything, is based on the heated square footage.
Because you're gonna
So
have you wind up. I want the 1,800 square foot house with a wraparound porch.
that's
You
right.
just put two pools in the background, in the
Yeah,
backyard.
it's essentially, I mean, because you're taking a 1,800 or 2,000 square foot house and making it 4,000 square foot under roof. So you're at a 50-50 mix of heated to unheated. So that heated square footage is going to be very expensive. And Jeff, before we move on from the financial side of a house, a couple different things. For one, people are concerned, well, I can't afford two house notes, or if I've sold my house while I'm building and I'm living in a rental house or an apartment, I can't afford two full mortgages. Well, a construction loan that you're paying for is like a line of credit or a HELOC on your home, let's say. So you might have a $500,000 construction loan approved, but at the beginning, as you go, you pay interest only during that process, and you only pay on the money that you borrowed or spent so far. So at the beginning, you may have only paid to pay the lot off and maybe the clearing and the dirt pad. So you might only be paying on $100,000 of the 500,000 loan that first month. So the affordability is not as scary as people think, because yes, you are going to have those interest payments as you go, but the full interest payment at the end typically never even gets paid, because you're paying it off with the mortgage refinance. And that's the key to all of this, is that it is a true refinance. You have a construction loan and you're doing a refinance to a permanent mortgage, which is where you're able to pick up that any of the equity that you have from the appraised value to what you're actually going to mortgage. And as far as banking, we really have a lot of great banking relationships in the area. We do suggest going with a local bank, for construction lending, and we have tons of recommendations, for our customers as well.
So as for a custom builder in general, if I want to build a custom house, should I talk to my builder first about, hey, what bank should I use, or just is it relevant? They're all
Well,
going to be the same for the most part. It's just really whatever relationship you may have that could help.
yeah, no. So I mean, it's definitely relevant. Now, if you come, you got a great banking relationship, that's no problem. We'll figure out a way to work with them. But several of the banks have different policies, where some of the banks will only make you know 2 or 5 draws through the entire process. And if that's the case, you got to know that, one, either that bank's going to have to pre-fund some money for us to build out of, or you're going to have to put a substantial amount of money in the account to do that. Where a lot of our local banks were able to draw, when I say draw, that's pull money from the construction loan into the account to spend to pay subs and all that. We're able to do that more regularly, and they understand our processes. So we definitely have banks, local banks that we recommend here for sure. And to be fair and honest, I never just send one recommendation. We definitely going to send you several different options to look at, see what fits your situation and your personality the best with a banker. Yeah, and one of the big misconceptions that I hear too, I hear a lot. I mean, when we get these phone calls from people that are just getting the process started, is, well, but building is way too scary and time consuming. And I can tell you that the scariness is depending on, if you're trying to tackle this by yourself, which most of the banks won't even let people do an individual construction loan without a builder anymore. But if they do, yeah, that is a huge scary. It's going to take you years probably to build a house now. As everybody knows, with the since COVID, the labor pool has shrunk, which has made it more difficult. And then also costs can kind of be all over the board. So that's one thing you definitely want to really interview your builder, get to know them, make sure they're doing at least a decent volume of homes, so they have the labor relationships. So they're coming to my subcontractors are coming to my homes before they come to somebody building 1 or 2 houses a year. So that really speeds the time process up. Now, it does take longer to build now than it did in 2019 because of the labor pool and some of the back orders and shipping issues we have. But as far as the scariness, we take that away on our team specifically. We have a designer that works with all of our customers to help them pick everything, go to the showroom. So they're never alone, that fearful, hey, I'm going into this not knowing what I'm doing. We kind of have that guiding person. We have project managers going to be on their home every day. So, it's really, it's going to depend on a lot on who you go with. Building is not a one man show. There's a lot of people that touch your homes, and that's one thing that kind of leads right into um, another pretty big misconception is when you go to the Ford dealership and you order a new truck, let's say, and you pick everything you want. That truck's made by machines for the most part, and men sticking things together, men and women, they're humans. So there's not near as much human error. There still is in vehicles, as we know. It's why they have warranties. But with homes, there's so many different subcontractors and people that touch your home. Building a home at absolute perfection, if anybody tells you that, that's absolutely impossible. And building a house without hiccups is absolutely impossible.
You better sign that contract quick if they set
Yeah,
that up.
yeah. That's well. You better not sign that contract because they're starting out with a lie. So it's
Yeah.
probably a bad situation. So I'm very honest with my people. The joy or frustration of custom building a home really depends a lot on the homeowner, my customer. If they go out the day one that we're framing and there's a couple 2x4s that are slightly crooked and they call really chewing us out because there's a couple crooked 2x4s, that's going to be a tough build process for me as the builder and them as the homeowner. We need to get through that step, do our quality control, get those items addressed. And then the homeowners, I tell them, look, y'all are always our third and fourth eyes. So we have the subcontractor looking at it, we have your project manager through MS Homes, and we have myself looking at it, and we have the inspection process. So let everything happen, but definitely keep us informed if you see any issues, major issues. And that's why we have warranties and walkthrough punch lists and all that as well. So, and Jeff, this kind of is part of the custom home building, kind of in the very beginning. Whoever they go to draw their home, their architect or draftsman, a lot of people think, well, I can't afford them. Well, and if I can afford them, then they're going to know exactly what I want. We're going to go to one meeting. They're going to spit out that perfect plan out of my head. So I'm sure you probably get
Story of my life right there.
Yeah. So that people need to understand that the more information and items and what I tell my people is find a couple of different things you like from plans. And like I like this master bedroom setup. I like this Jack and Jill kids bedroom. I like the way this is laid out. And then we bring that. And then Jeff, you have a starting basis to get them a lot closer on that first draft. So a lot of people can be scared of that process, and I'm sure you see that a lot in your office as well.
It gets big to where I get everything that comes through seeing either it's just an idea of my head, and you have a piece of paper that you've got to write down notes, just pulling things out. People come in with napkins with ideas. People find things online. That comes in all forms and sizes. Probably one of the biggest issues that I have is finding ways to make what people want because they see the $3 million home on Pinterest and they want to put it in a 1,800 square foot house. Well, that just doesn't translate. So what do you do there? I want a 4 bedroom, 1,900 square foot house for $150,000.
Yeah. Well, and that's the deal I tell people. So when I'm, when people my customers are interviewing me, as a builder, we're also kind of interviewing them because, we want it to be a good fit through the process. And one of the first things is kind of before a bank even financially qualifies is reality checks with people. You get that a lot. And a lot of people come in thinking that, and you're like, well, they're not even in the realm of reality. Well, they go do some little actual research and they come back and say, okay, you were right. I understand, that's not going to be possible. So, I mean, the reality of a new $150,000 home does not exist anymore. So you got to understand when homes in the area are selling for near 200 to over $200 per foot, builders aren't making 50% profit. So the reality of building a house for half of that does not exist. That's something that you really have to get a reality. And we can, when people first come meet with me, they always want to know, well, what's this going to cost me? Well, I can give them a range. Right now we're for a basic kind of stained floors, we might be in the $150 per foot range, depending on the heated. Every plan's different. I mean, we have some that go $200 a foot. It just really depends on if you're going to be, importing Italian marble in your home and having a 5-car garage in a 4,000 square foot unheated area, you're going to be at the top end of that range or maybe over that range. So every house is different. Every finishes are different. Everybody's tastes are different. So It's really truly custom, individualized to each person.
Nick is one of the builders I do a lot of design for. He likes to be at a lot of the meetings and experience with that versus the typical person that comes to see me about a house and we talk about what's going in it and we start talking about the value and the cost of what this is going to be for what we're designing. If he's in the room for one of his meetings, he can very quickly say, well, this is what you want, but if I can build it this way, you're going to save this much money. Let's don't do that because this is going to cost all of this money. We can do it like this, and it's going to save you a lot, and you're still going to get the same outcome. If you have a builder, if you're going through a planning process and you already have a builder, bring him to your meeting. If he refuses to come to your meeting, maybe go find another builder.
It's a much better process and much closer staying on budgets if somebody comes to me and I go through that planning process with them of designing the house.
So with that thought in mind, say you sit down where you're laying out your budget. Um, is it a process of say, okay, when it comes to the lightings and the fixtures, do you give me a hey, you've got X amount of dollars, you're going to go to this place, knock yourself out, just don't go over this, don't break your budget. Is that kind of how that works?
Well, so the way it works for me is the budget is based on the individual. So before I ever set the budget that goes to the bank that sets your loan amounts and all that, we sit down and go in detail, multi-page document of what kind of finishes you want, what kind of fixtures are you looking at, simplistic, are you wanting to go all gold throughout the house, which we know is going to cost more. So I set realistic budgets based on people's plan specifics and the specifics they say they want in their finishes. So to answer that, with us, the designer really spends a lot of time at homework with you. You drop ideas in Dropbox. We're really up to speed. We use iPads every day as opposed to rolling out big paper plans. We have our schedules and finishes. The homeowners approve everything. They know the portfolio. They see all the fixtures before they go in the house. So to answer your question, no. Is our designer really, like I said, gets to know the individuals and knows their taste and what style they're wanting. So she's kind of going ahead of you a lot of times and having some selections within your budget that you probably are going to like in multiple different options. So you're not going in with 8,000 lighting fixtures hanging on the ceiling like, oh my God, where do I start? We're going in kind of guiding ahead of time, guiding through that process. Now, if it's something that you don't like, we're going to find something you do like. And it's really up to you. We give you informed decisions. So if you kind of go outside of what she's looked at and your budget is over before we order it, you're going to know, hey, I'm going to be $1,800 over on my lighting budget. Are you okay with that? Do you approve that? Do you have the money that you're going to pull that from somewhere? I don't really care what lighting fixture you put in your dining room as long as I know the money is there to get it and we can get it in time. So to answer your question, it's not just, the world is your oyster, go pick anything you want. We do kind of help you and guide you. And our customers really appreciate that because they're not super overwhelmed when they go to pick their finishes. That can be one of the toughest things in home building is you have 8 million light fixtures. How do I pick the 10 I need for my house? We guide you through that process.
So you not only build custom homes, you build spec homes as well. If I'm in a neighborhood where you have a spec house going, at what point in time can I make that a custom house? Is there a too late stage in the home building process to make this a custom home for myself?
Well, so typically, if we're speculative building a house and hope someone buys it, a spec home, we're doing that with plans. We don't just go into that blind. We already have our finishes picked out. We already have everything picked out. So yes, there is a point. So once everything is actually ordered on that home, it might just be sheetrock. And somebody might say, all right, well, I want to make an offer on this home, but I want to be able to pick out my appliances. Well, if the appliances have already been ordered from that home, I can't let you do that unless you pay additional for the additional appliances because I've already been ordered and billed and most of the time paid for those appliances for that house and they're mine. They're going in that house. So that is something that people sometimes seem to get a little frustrated with. But is there a too early period? Absolutely not. I mean, before we pour the foundation on that house, if somebody wants to buy it with knowing here's the plans, here's the house that we're doing. They absolutely can. And at that point, it's much easier to make those selections. And that becomes what we call a pre-sold house or a pre-sold spec house, where it's actually our house that we're building and carrying the loan on and all that, and someone's buying it at the end. And in that case, it's a little more tightened down to where obviously we're definitely using all of our subs. We kind of have our whole schedules built already. And we also have our budgets. So then you're going to hear a lot within builder's budget. So if I have budgeted $3,000 for the lighting fixtures and you want to change lighting fixtures, typically if they're not ordered, that's not an issue, but you got to stay within that budget. Let's say you go pick $3,500 worth of fixtures and you say that's what I want. It's a pretty simple process. They'll bill me the $3,000 that's in the budget, and you'll just pay them directly the $500 over. So it just simplifies everything so that way people can't pick. But yeah, there's absolutely that point of no return where I've ordered it. It's been ordered. It's a custom item for that house. It's not going to get changed at that point. You know, we might need to build you a custom house in the neighborhood you like, as opposed to you buying this one and trying to change everything. Yeah, there's definitely some customizable things available as long as it's not been bought, ordered, and pre-done already.
I know you got better things to do than sit here and, waste your days here. You got houses to go check on. So we really appreciate you taking the time to sit here. And so tell everybody, if they want to get a hold of Nick Gullette with MS Homes, how do they do that?
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with us, our number here at the office is 601-862-0883. Come straight into the office. We can get an appointment set up to talk about it, or just have conversations over the phone if you want. We're located in Brandon, kind of near the spillway. So we're here local in Rankin County. We also build in Madison County as well. But yeah, give us a call if you're interested or just wanting to find out more about the possibility of even building a custom home. We'd be glad to kind of walk you through that.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for weekly content. If there's a video that you would like to see or you're interested in, drop us a comment below. Let us know. We'll see what we can get put together. Go hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Instagram. We would love to try to work with you, and we'd love to speak with you. And as always, start every job with a little TLC.